Hello and welcome to UK Gaming Network. I'm Zoidberg and this is our roundup of the best games released in October 2017. We're now right slap bang in the middle of silly season, and as usual it's been the worst month of the year for our wallets. Christmas may still be considered a swear word in some houses, but it's very much on the mind of publishers who have been unleashing their biggest weapons for the upcoming festive period. One Friday in particular saw brand new releases in 3 of gaming's biggest franchises, all released at the same time. Deciding which games you should be spending your money on has never been harder, so let's ease your elimination process a little with our rundown of the best games we've played this month, presented in order of release. Our pick for Game of the Month will round out the list, and will always be a brand new release and not something that appeared earlier on a different system. Remember, these are merely our opinion, and you're free to disagree with our choices. Forza Motorsport 7 is an incredibly robust package, featuring the largest selection of tracks and cars in the series to date, and Turn 10 Studios have once again delivered an impressive technical showcase with some superb weather and lighting effects. It's a bit of a mystery to us that they've launched it now, however, and not alongside the Xbox One X in a couple of weeks, as it will no doubt look glorious in its native 4K, and be a system seller. In gameplay terms, it's exactly the same as previous titles, and feels just as good to play. There are a few new additions like truck racing, and the new Dubai circuit has quickly become one of our favourites. In the end though, race victories in Project Cars 2 feel more hard fought than satisfying, and as for Gran Turismo Sport, well, we'll get to that in a minute.
Oi, you!
We first saw Wolfenstein over 2 years ago at Blackpool Play Expo, and we were so impressed by its cartoon visuals and 90s brawler gameplay that we've tracked its progress ever since. We're pleased to report that it's been well worth the wait. Whether you're playing it alone or in local co-op, this is a hugely enjoyable and challenging game. Beneath the excellent cartoon exterior, this is easily one of the most violent games we've ever played on the Nintendo system, with dismembered limbs even being used as weapons that you can fling at your opponents. There's even an extensive look at the real-life events that inspired the game tucked away in the extras. Never has a history lesson felt so fun.
Mosquito is coming with us! No chance. See, Mr. Mosquito? We told you everyone else in here was a loser. Here's some losers now. I can't leave.
South Park: The Stick of Truth surprised everyone with just how good it was, so naturally Ubisoft have tried to replicate that success. The Fractured But Whole isn't as good as the first game, with a few of the jokes about gaming culture recycled from last time, but it's still a hilarious and hugely enjoyable RPG. One definite improvement is the revamped battle system, which adds fantastic depth to the combat. You really have to think hard about which attacks to use in any given situation, and where you should stand. With focus switched from fantasy role-playing to superheroes, and specifically Marvel and DC movies, it's given the writers plenty of new targets to aim at, although as this is South Park, there are also plenty of jokes that aren't for the easily offended too.
Next time I'll use my high beams. Order up, cuties!
As it's only been released in early access so far, Sociable Soccer is ineligible for winning our Game of the Month. But even in its current state, it's the best sports game we've played this year. John Hare and his team have managed to perfectly recapture what made Sensible World of Soccer so great back in 1994. It's fast, playable and unbelievably good fun, especially when you curl an epic shot from distance. Local multiplayer is, of course, the best way to play, but in boss mode it also features an addictive single-player game too. With the early access period only planned for a few months and console versions also planned, this deserves to reach a mass audience when the final version launches next year. Gran Turismo Sport features over 1,000 cars less than Gran Turismo 6, but that doesn't stop it from being a much more enjoyable racing experience. Everything it does right. From the little details, like being able to turn off the racing line and replace it with more intuitive cone markers for the corners, to an online mode that positively encourages clean racing thanks to the safety rating you're given for all to see. It's clear that the development team have listened to the criticisms levelled at the series and responded. It tells you all you need to know, that we'd rather spend hours racing against nobody apart from the clock and our own ghost in pursuit of an all-important gold medal than plodding through Forza's career mode. VR feels like an afterthought, probably because it was, but this is the best in the series since Gran Turismo 3. I actually quite enjoyed the film of The Mummy, although I'm well aware that I'm in a very small minority. Fortunately, whether or not you like the film will have no bearing on your enjoyment of the game. This is a retro-infused action platformer, heavily inspired by Super Metroid, and it's brilliant. The presentation is straight out of the 16-bit era, with great sprite design and authentic sounding chiptunes. In addition to the huge map, packed with secrets to discover and power-ups to unlock, the best feature sees you having to hunt down and kill your previous incarnation, who has become a possessed mummy disciple, in order to retrieve your equipment each time you die. My only complaint is that your health doesn't refill whenever you visit a save room. By focusing entirely on being a great single-player experience, Wolfenstein: The New Order was one of the best first-person shooters we'd played in years. Now, Machine Games have repeated the trick with the new Colossus, which takes up the story at the exact point the first game ended. It subverts your expectations slightly by having an opening level where you're confined to a wheelchair, so it's difficult to move and shoot at the same time. The developers understand, however, that the most important thing here is making sure we have plenty of cool weapons with which to kill the onslaught of enemies, and to keep them stocked with ammo. But in addition, they have fleshed out the characters, amped up the crazy storyline, and generally improved everything since the first game. Just don't mention that it's actually the 7th Wolfenstein game. We got Zelda on launch day, but let's face it, the first year for the Nintendo Switch was never going to feel complete until we had a Super Mario game as well, and Super Mario Odyssey is everything you would want from the series. The way Mario moves around the world hasn't changed since Mario 64, simply because it doesn't need to. And this has allowed the designers to spend more time to create the world and levels, and the level design is exemplary. The big gimmick this time is that Mario is joined on his journey by a new sidekick called Cappy. Essentially a sentient hat, he can be thrown to collect power-ups, hurled at enemies as a weapon, or used as a platform to gain unreachable areas. However, best of all, he can be used to possess other creatures and use their abilities for a while. While it is possible to finish the game's 17 kingdoms in around 10 hours, collecting every power moon and getting 100% will take much, much longer. That's all for another fantastic month of gaming. Did you agree with our choices? Let us know what you think in the comments and follow us on Twitter at UK Gaming Network to see information about what our next live streams and upcoming events. We'll be back in 30 days to see how November turned out. Thanks for watching, see you next time.